Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praise, it's the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, we are coming. We are coming back for our history. We are coming back for our heritage. Gone are the days that we are going to be dependent upon the Gentiles to tell us who we are, where we came from, what is ours, what is theirs. We're going to be dependent upon the Most High, dependent upon the Holy Spirit. They will lead us into all truth that all the Gentiles have been working feverishly to keep from us. We understand we're going to get a lot of confirmation of many things that the Most High has shown us over the last couple of years right now. In this video and with this information we're going to bring out, just confirming the whole topic of Freemasonry and what's going on with all of that, the initiation process, these sacred mysteries, all of that goes back to our people. And you're going to get some understanding about why they have gone out of their way to hide all of our information, why they've gone out of their way to set up groups to keep you from studying, to keep you from chasing after your heritage. First thing we got to establish here about India. When did India become a nation? August 15th, 1947. See, what they're really good, what the enemy is really good at doing is using new terms to classify old or ancient peoples. This India as a nation was barely established in 1947. So they're using the word India in these books, and they're using India in these different things to make it seem as if the India that we see today, the people that we see there today, are the same ones that were there during ancient times. So you can't do that. Just like with America, just like with the natives they show you today. Just because they say a native was here does not mean that that was the same, Aborigine that was here thousands of years ago. Even though they'll make those claims. Oh, we've been here the whole time. I don't care about what claims you make. We're going to look at the specific attributes of the people. We weren't always Hebrews. We weren't always Israelites. We had other names before that. We had other, classifications before the Gentiles came up with their classifications. So, and we've been taught pretty much what? Now we're all African Americans. So pretty much you're trying to say our history goes back to what? 1988 and Jesse Jackson? You've changed our name so many times. But that would make sense. Because when the Most High is going to start giving us our information back, it's hard sometimes to, when you hear the Brahmins and you hear Mahatmas and you hear, you just first thing you think of are the East Indians. But we got to look at the attributes. Did you guys know that, they always talk about Alexander the Great and how he conquered the whole known world. That's a lie. There are certain areas that he could not conquer. And we're going to learn about those areas and those people right now. And when you listen and you see him, listen to the attributes. Listen to the things that they do. And tell me that's not our people. Check this out. There we go. We're going to get back into sacred mysteries among the Mayas and the Kashis. 11,500 years ago, okay? Their relation to the sacred mysteries of Egypt, Greece, Chaldea, and India. This is going to be an amazing page, a couple pages we're going to be getting into. And there's a lot of meat here, so you got to really take your time and look at what's being brought out. If we go to Hindustan, there we will learn of a secret society of wise and learned men, whose object is the study of philosophy in all its branches, but particularly the spiritual development of man. Now, see, what if what is the Most High been moving us into? Looking into our spiritual development, right? That is something that the Most High has moved us into. So we're not always just concentrating on the negative things that have happened to us. We are now told to elevate, to lift our frequencies, to fix the spiritual problems or the spiritual, setbacks that we have gone through as well. This group of wise and learned men, whose object is the study of philosophy in all its branches, but particularly the spiritual development of man. Talking about your chakras, talking about aligning your chakras, talking about all these different things, working on your shadows, working on all these different spiritual aspects of man, things that most of the world ignores. Okay, these were the things that were given to a specific group of people. You're going to find that out right now. Check it out. The leading fraternity is established in Tibet, and the High Pontiff, okay, and other dignitaries of the Lama religion belong to it. They are known throughout India by the name of Mahatmas, or brothers. Okay, Mahatmas or brothers. Okay, now, hey, 12 tribes. They're all brothers, were they not? Were they not all related? Everything was going, we go to Psalms 147, 19 and 20. These records were only given to the Israelites. They're only given to these certain brothers. Okay, that's why you got to look at the attributes of the things that they're saying. There's not information that's given to just everyone. 2nd Esdras 14, once again. Some books give them to the whole world. But at the end, there's going to be other books that are going to be given to the wise. They're going to be given to the brothers. They're going to be given to certain people. All right? So, we're going to continue. To obtain this title, it is necessary to suffer, okay, a long and weary probation and pass through ordeals of terrible severity. Now, check this out. Remember from yesterday's live, we talked about when Peter was sending his works to James, and he says, do not let the Gentiles get their hands on them, because they're going to twist everything up. And even with our own 12 tribes, our own brethren, our own brothers, if they want this information, they're going to have to go through a probationary period. They're going to have to go through a lot of trials. Okay? That's what we have been going through. Now, check this out. Is this mean like a trial just in one life? Or is this trials that we have to constantly come back and go through again and again until we finally, ascend and raise our frequencies? That's just a question I had. I don't know if it's just necessarily in one life, because we are always trying to ascend. And in this society, this matrix does its damnedest to keep you from ascending, keeps you at a low level, because that's what it's set up to do. All right? So again, to obtain this title, it is necessary to suffer a long and weary probation and pass through ordeals of terrible severity. Many of the chelas, as the aspirants are called, have spent 20, even 30 years of blameless and arduous devotion to their task, and still they are in the earlier degrees, looking forward to the happy day when they may be judged worthy to have the title of brother conferred upon them. Now, see, this is what happens when we come into the truth, and they make it sound as if your skin color dictates who you are. Oh, you're so-called African American. Oh, you're in for sure. Oh, you're a so-called Mexican. Oh, you're in for sure. You don't have to go through any probationary period. You don't have to go through any trials or tribulations. You're just in because of the color of your skin. See, this is the oversimplification of the Gentiles. This here is letting you know that, yeah, you might be one of our people, but if you want to ascend, you have to go through, your probation. You have to go through, you have to go through the suffering. You have to go through all these different trials. And depending on you, I mean, some people might be at a lower level in 20 years, 30 years. Some might be at a higher level even faster. It just all depends. Okay? But this is just showing you that it's not just about your skin color. It's not, oh, you're so-called white person, you're for sure you're this. And that's not how this works. Okay? But when you can't even, but your spirit will, testify to who you are. If you refuse to, listen to the truth, accept the truth, you refuse to listen to another person's point of view, the only way that, you can make it to heaven is through your doctrine. That your doctrine is the only doctrine, and anyone else is in a cult, they don't know anything, whatever else. That just shows that you are stuck in the matrix. The Mahatmas are the successors of those secret societies of learned Brahmins. So, the information has just been passed down to another group. That's why I said these other nations have our information. And they can use it, and they might even get some benefits out of it, of course, right? But it's not going to be the same as when it's given back to the originators. When we get the information back and we get that understanding back, and we have the angels working with us once again, we have our spirits working with us, we have the Holy Spirit working with us, we have the Most High working with us, then it's going to be a whole nother level. So again, these Mahatmas are the successors of those secret societies of learned Brahmins, so celebrated for their wisdom from very remote ages in India, and of whose colleges or lodges always built on the summit of high mounds. All right? Either natural or artificial. Ley lines. There you go. More confirmation about the ley lines and how important these places are. How powerful these places are. This is exactly why when the Romans took over our lands, they just, took over our buildings, and they knew that where we put our sacred sites, that there's power there. And this is just confirmation right there. So again, from very remote ages in India, and of whose colleges or lodges always built on the summit of high mounds, either natural or artificial. So these people right here were called brothers right here. Just a quick review. They were wise and learned men. They studied philosophy, all branches, but particularly they were worried about the spiritual development of man. And that's something that these churches steer you away from. Anything that deals with the spirit world is witchcraft. Don't look at that. That's esoteric. You're going to go to hell. That shows you which team these people are playing for, to keep you away from your spiritual connection, your spiritual power. We are spiritual beings. That's where the eternity comes from. Our spirits, not our flesh. So now check this part out. There's even more. Alexander the Great, when he achieved the conquest of that country, was never able to take possession. So even Alexander the Great was not allowed to take possession of these areas. See, they don't tell you about that. They keep that hush hush. They don't want you to realize that there was a power even greater than Alexander the Great. There was a power that even he could not overcome. This is why it's so important for us to be working on our spiritual understanding. Our spiritual growth is so important. Not just dwelling on the negatives, which is exactly what the other nations want you to do. Why do you think they're constantly shooting our people down in the street, putting that in the news, showing how they still have control, trying to show how they still have control, how, we don't work hard, we don't want things, and we don't, they're always trying to push that low vibration. Go get your bug out bag, go get your land, go get your food, You need to make sure you're ready for when the shit hits the fan. Fear, fear, fear. So you don't take, matters in your own hand and work on your own spiritual growth. You don't work on connecting with the angels. You don't go work on, learning more about the stones, and their benefits. Check this out. Philostratus informs us that their mode of defense consisted in surrounding themselves with clouds, by means of which they could at will render themselves visible or not, and hurling from their midst tempests and thunder on their enemies. Check that out. Like storm, controlling the weather, bringing storms, hurling thunder on their enemies. This is a power that we had. And you're going to find on the next page, you're going to see even more of the attributes of these people. And it's Israel to the T. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. And this is why they hide this information. They don't want you to realize how important your ley lines are, how important it is to study your philosophy, to study your spiritual, aspect of you. The fact that this information is not just given to everyone, that you have to go through, initiations for it. And Most High has put many of us through many different trials to see, hey, you say you want to follow the Most High. Well, there's these trials that you're going to have to go through. So now you understand why we've gone through so many trials and tribulations, because they were tests to see if we were worthy to be the Mahatmas or the brothers. So evidently, in those early, there's your picture here of Alexander the Great, who could not take down the Mahatmas, he did not have power over the ley lines. Now they were using what you would call, would that not sound like magic to you? Making themselves visible and invisible, bringing storms, shooting lightning. Does that not sound like magic? Now you understand why it's so important for the churches to demonize anyone that goes into the subject matter. You think this was the East Indians that were doing these things? You think that the so-called Greeks here were so worried about the East Indians? Have they made all these laws against the East Indians to keep them away from each other? See, that's what they've always worried about. The so-called black man coming together and working together. Whenever we come together, there's a problem. Because they know where the true power lies. And this is the picture that we're trying to use for the Mahatmas and the Chelas right here. They're always, and they got the one so-called brother-looking one over here on the far right, but they always try to make it seem like it wasn't you. It's not you. It's these guys right here. It's not you. Don't worry about that. You're Africans. You're just Africans. All you are all Africans. That's where you guys all come from. You didn't leave those lands. You can't swim. You don't know how to make ships. You don't know how to ride horses. You don't know how to walk. You don't have GPS. You see what I'm saying? We're the ones that found everything. Yeah, okay. So the times they had discovered. So this is what they. Hold on, let me go and read that last part before. It says, evidently in those early times, they had discovered gunpowder or some other explosives of like nature, and made use of them to explode mines and destroy their assailants. So this is what they're saying our people had. They figured they had gunpowder, some other kinds of explosives, to destroy their assailants. They had all this other, more advanced weaponry than the other nations had. Okay? These same Brahmins claim to have been the teachers of the Egyptians. Now we already know where the Egyptians get their information from. Abraham. He was the one that was taught them about a lot of their information. And those were in the books of Josephus. We've talked about that before. Okay? It was handed down to a specific bloodline. Okay, so who, according to that, okay, would have received their civilization and scientific knowledge from them, as also did the Chaldeans. So let's read that part again. Brahmins claim to have been the teachers of the Egyptians, who, according to that, would have received their civilization and scientific knowledge from them, as also did the Chaldeans. It is well known that the Magi were strangers who came to Babylon, possessors. Okay, says the prophet Daniel. This part's a little confusing, but okay. Not only of a special learning, but of a peculiar tongue. See, I'm not sure if they're talking about Daniel there, but we know that they had a special, Daniel's and his people would have a special learning. Because, they wanted him to eat certain things, and he said, no, I'm not going to eat that. And that, if I eat my regular diet, I'm going to be healthier than you guys are, things like that. And they would call on Daniel to, to interpret dreams. All right. So you're going to keep reading about these other attributes, and it kind of sounds like the Israelites. So check this out. So again, Daniel, not only of a special learning, but of a peculiar tongue. They formed a powerful society, into which at the beginning, none but those of their own people were admitted, as their science was both exclusive and hereditary. Is that not the Israelites right now? That's how it used to be. And before they were called Israelites, there was still a certain bloodline that had this information. And right there, their science was both exclusive and hereditary. Other people were not getting this information. They were not sharing this with the other nations. That's why in the Bible it talks about how the Bible or the books, our information, is for the Israelites only. He has not dealt so with any other nation. This is how you know that this information here is ours, because it's way more advanced than anything that the other nations have. So this is proving that when they're talking about these Mahatmas and everything else, they're talking about our people. A certain religious character was attached to the whole body. Every priest must be a Chaldean, but every Chaldean was not a priest, just like now. Okay, you can just change it to Israelite. Every priest must be an Israelite, but every Israelite was not a priest, just like the Levites were the priests. Okay, same kind of thing. So those attributes show you that those are things that our nation taught. Okay, they passed their whole lives in meditating questions of philosophy. Now check this part out. Astronomy was their favorite study, but they acquired great reputation for their astrology. Now, as soon as we started getting into astronomy and astrology, these Christians as well as these Catholic Hebrews attacked. But this group right here, okay, again, astronomy was their favorite study, but they acquired great reputation for their astrology. They had a very deep understanding of the stars, of what's going on in the heavens, and their significance and their impact down here. Now you understand why you get so much pushback. Now you see how the other groups, the other people, show their ass by their actions. They show who they are. They show who they're aligned with. Because the churches have gone out of their way to keep you away from some of your great aspects of your study, of your heritage, which would be astronomy and astrology. And they've been using it the whole time. That's why they have these huge events that pop up on certain dates when the stars are aligned at certain times. They have these events down here. That's what the Gentiles, they do. So apparently they know the significance of these dates, of these alignments, and they try to push their agenda during those times. But then when you look into it, you're called a magician, a warlock, a devil worshiper. You see that? But this is showing you that this group, and you see Israel written all over the place here. You see all the attributes. So that would make sense, because they would have this knowledge because it was given to them. It was given to Adam, given to Enoch. Astronomy was their favorite study, but they acquired great reputation for their astrology. You're going to have, show me that in the Bible. No, I'm not going to show you anything in the Bible. It says, you show me Like I always tell people, you show me that the Most High limited us to 66 books. When you can't do that, you can keep it moving. That's why they only gave you those 66 books. And they demonize anything that has to do with the stars. All the while, behind closed doors, they're using it. You think it's a coincidence that on certain alignments, there's these huge events that happen around that time? You think it's just a coincidence? Or they know the power of those times, and they're trying to harness it for their agenda. It says, they were versed in the arts of prophesying, of explaining dreams and prodigies, and the omens furnished by the entrails of victims offered in sacrifice. The parents taught the children. I don't know about the whole sacrificing stuff, but other stuff, they were versed in the arts of prophesying and of explaining dreams and prodigies. That is not examples of Daniel and Joseph. You see that? So Enoch. They knew about Noah. They knew about these things because they could read the stars. They were given us information, given us understanding. Just like we get the huge X that's coming between 2017 and 2024. Moving into Aquarius in 2023. Is all of these signs in the heavens. And this understanding was given to a specific group of people. So, I read this part before already. At their head was a high pontiff with the title of Rab Mag. Okay, we'll leave it at that right now. But the main thing is, this is our heritage. This is our, this all talk about Freemasonry and all this other stuff. Our information. Talking about the Brahmins, the Mahatmas, that was us. And we're coming back to get this understanding once again. So they came over here and jacked all of our understanding, jacked all of our information, jacked our wealth, took it over there to their areas that they, are occupying right now, and built that up to make it seem as if they've always been in these positions. But now the Most High is raising up his people and giving us our understanding once again. He's showing us who we are, and he's showing us who they are. He's showing us that this great learning understanding originated with us. And in all these other nations, all they did was steal it, use it for themselves, and then make it seem as if you try to learn anything about it, that you're stealing, someone else's culture, when that's all that they've done this whole time. All praise is the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to Earthly Mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom, family.